Welcome, I'm the Deadwood Jedi. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. I am on the test server today, and I thought we'd talk a little bit about the Sylvan faction. Talk a little bit about how it fits in with the other factions in this game, because each faction does tend to have a little bit of a, I don't know how you say it, a personality, right? There's a little bit something about each faction that's a bit different from each of the others, which is, I think, pretty cool, honestly. And this one definitely fits a different niche than any of the other ones do. And I think that's pretty dope. I also thought we'd talk a little bit about the taunting buff that's been added to the game and what that's going to mean as far as our builds with it and whatnot. Yeah, quick spoiler, don't love it. But we'll see how it goes. I haven't fully tested it yet, but I just want to talk kind of theoretically about it and like where it could be useful. So that's the plan for today. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, that's going to be it. So let's jump in. This should be a nice quick video and get a little information out there. Thank you so much for coming out to watch this video. If you like it, please take the time, hit that subscription button, easiest way to support my channel. And if you enjoy these videos and don't want to miss the next one, hit that notification bell as well. All right, first thing I want to talk about is the factions and their personalities, because each faction kind of has their own little personality. I mean, if we look at them, I think we could really break down almost all of them and come up with some kind of thing. Like, we look at the Banner Lords, right? We got a lot of armored individuals. They have a lot of heavy damage champions, right? They have a lot of, not a lot of much else, really. Mostly what they do is damage, right? Especially with the epics and stuff here. There's not a lot of like mixed stuff going on. There are some ally protection. There is some, you know, a little bit of variance, but mostly because they have so many champions. It's not really, you know, there's not a lot of healing, not a lot of turn meter control. High Elves, on the other hand, have a lot of turn meter control, right? They have a lot of protection stuff, and they don't have a ton of debuffers, especially among the epics, even among the legendaries. It's not a very heavy debuff focused champion. A lot more speed is really what they're about. If we move down to something like, say, oh, I don't know, Demon Spawn, right? Demon Spawn's all about HP burn. Like, that's the big thing with them. A lot of HP burn, a lot of debuffs going on in there. That seems to be their focus, right? So not as much revive, healing, that sort of thing going on. And obviously there's going to be a difference between the legendaries and the epics. Legendaries will always have a little bit of everything because they're legendaries, but in general you're going to see these trends kind of play out. We look at Dark Elves. Dark Elves have a ton of debuffers, right? They have a ton of debuffers, whether we're talking Dark Kale or we're talking, I don't know, who else? Madam Ceres, right? Sylar, you know, there are a lot of debuff champions. Kale in here. There isn't a lot of healing. There isn't a lot of revive, right? There are some limited things, and they also don't have a lot of like big damage dealers. A couple in the legendaries for sure, right? I mean, you got like Foley and Zavia, but that's pretty much it. In the epics, it's not a whole lot there really. So, you know, there's kind of different personalities that go on here. Shadowkin, as we all know, are heavy on the attack, right? Most of these epics are going to be all attack based. There's a few that do other things like Taragi the Frog, but generally they have an attack based focus with them. So a lot of damage dealers going on there. The dwarves all have high HP, right? They're all dwarves. They all have high HP, it seems like. So what does that mean with the Sylvans? Where do they fit in? Well, the Sylvan faction, I think, is very unique because they have a ton of healing. Pretty much all these champions have some kind of healing built into their kit, either for themselves or for their allies. In addition to that, you see, like, you know, champions like Elva here definitely has a lot of healing, even when that's not the main focus of her kit, right? There's a lot of buffs also going on in this kit. So in this faction, I should say, whether that is, you know, from healing like shields or continuous heals, right? Or whether that's something like ally protection. I'm not even sure who has that, but a lot of these buffs, strengthen and taunt, I've noticed that a lot in this faction. A lot of shields, a lot of continuous heal. These all seem to be pretty big things. Ally protection right there. There's a lot of cleansing, you know. So within these 11 champions, there's actually a very clear design philosophy going on here, where this is a, you know, these are the Sylvan watchers, right? They're all woodland based type of thing. So a lot of that nature focus where it's going to be healing, it's going to be protection, and a lot of cleansing. And that's kind of like the focus with this faction. So one of the things I'm looking forward to, interestingly, is seeing how this faction does damage. We already have more than a couple poisoners in this faction. I would anticipate we get a lot more of those. I would not anticipate getting things like HP burn. I would not anticipate getting things like freeze, or even, you know, we might get one or two sleep champions if they, you know, incorporate like another mushroom type guy or something in there, or a spore type person, right? But in general, my guess is going to be there's not going to be as much control like provoke or taunt or anything like that. There's not going to be a lot of damage dealing, right? I think we have a Leal in there, but I think he's pretty going to be rather unique in that sense. We're not going to get a ton of damage dealing champions. What we are going to get a ton of are ally protection, buff champions, maybe even debuff champions with things like poisons or decreased attack, stuff that's going to help protect your team. And I think that's a great addition to the game because while we do have plenty of those champions in this game, there's like, I don't know, 600 champions or something in this game right now. It is nice to get more of them, and it's really nice to have a faction that's kind of focused on them, makes them very unique as far as a faction to use. And I think with, the arena stuff that's coming up in the future, I feel like there is some definite, positives that'll be coming out of that, some interesting things that we can be getting in the future from that, unique combinations and stuff, if there's more faction-focused stuff going on. So to me, I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so I want to talk about Taunt now. Now, I actually, you notice my shirt changed. I had to re-record this video because I had misread the skill when I first looked at it, and I didn't want to give you guys bad information. So even though I had a video all prepped and ready to go, I was like, okay, we're just going to re-record this and set it up. So Taunt is going to be both good and completely useless depending on where you are in this game. Now, when it comes to Clan Boss, I'm actually showing you guys right now the one time where this is going to be exceptionally useful, targeting the stun from the Clan Boss. You can see here, we've got counterattack up. We're last in the team order. Chances are, pretty much everything says the stun should go to Hellcat right here. But instead, what's going to end up happening is the stun is going to go to this new champion here. I can't remember the name of, but this new champion with the taunt ability up. And that's huge for us when you're talking about budget unkillable teams, or you're talking about, even a Hellcat team where the stun needs to go to one of a couple different champions. This can be a massive way to kind of override what the Clan Boss might normally do and to deal with affinity in a positive way for us. So there's a lot of strong possibilities when using a champion that has this taunt ability for Clan Boss. It's also going to be helpful in Hydra, right? Now, it's not going to work for every head in Hydra. Some of the heads have special targeting things that will override the taunt ability. Does that make any sense? No, it doesn't. I don't know why they do that. It's kind of frustrating to bring in a thing like this and then not have it work everywhere. But regardless, it is still going to be useful against some of the heads. And so that can be something. Now, there's a limit to that, right? Taunt is generally a one-turn skill. It doesn't usually span multiple turns. It can't be extended. So it's not like it's going to be up for the full fight either, and that can be a little bit more problematic, right? It definitely lessens the impact that it can have, but I can still see it being useful there. Outside of that, it's pretty much not helpful. Most bosses, I don't care whether you're talking Doom Tower or you're talking dungeons, are AoE-based bosses. They do AoE damage. Very few of them do single target damage. There's a couple, right? The Magma Dragon can single target. The Griffin can single target. In those cases, Taunt will be helpful for sure. Game changing? Probably not. Most of the other bosses are all AoE. Dragon, Spider, Ice Golem, Fire Knight. And so Taunt is useless against AoE. I don't care who they're targeting if they're hitting everybody on the team. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. In Arena 2, it's going to be really underwhelming. It's not to say it's completely useless. I'm sure you can, build a team around it and have it to your advantage. It's not a bad thing to have, but the fact that it's not a provoke. You're not forcing A1, so the enemy can still use all their skills. It's not going to help you when Trunda's dropping big bombs and nuking everybody on your team. It's not going to help you because when Rhodos is out there, because he's still going to be able to A3 and hit through all your defense. So it is good in certain circumstances, but it's a very limited circumstance kind of skill. And that's not a bad thing, right? I don't think that's a bad addition to the game. I think it's actually pretty useful overall. But we have to understand that there's a limited viability to it. So no, it's not a joke like my thumbnail says, but it's not that far off of it. The one place where it is useful, I think we're seeing right here, is in Clan Boss. And there, I think it's actually a very viable type of approach and something that's going to help a lot of people that really struggle dealing with the stun. Of course, you still have to block the debuff or that champion's still getting stunned. You also still have to build him to withstand it. I've got an HP-based champion here. Well, HP is not going to help me survive the stun hit. Stun hits based off of the enemy, our champion's HP. I need defense on him. So, we still don't have any champions that are really designed for Clan Boss where this skill is going to be best. So right now, It is a joke. It's pretty useless in this game at the moment. However, I can definitely see in the future, I can almost guarantee there will be some champions that are going to be ideal for a clan boss that have this ability on them. And for those champions, I think this is going to be very good for us, right? But we don't have them right now. And so that's kind of the pro and con here, the limitation, the give and the take. I do think that it's a skill, it's a buff that's not a bad addition to the game, but at the moment, it doesn't really have a place in the game. And so, you know, just kind of keep that in mind as you're looking through the skills of these new champions, who's going to be good where, what's going to be useful here and there. Yeah, it's not a bad skill, but with the champions that we currently have in the game, it's not really very helpful. So just keep that in mind, right? And that's kind of what we got, guys. So that's today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button. I've got more videos from the test server coming out all week, so stay tuned. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. And yeah, that's all we got. So till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.